German black metal, yeah. This time it's a band called Groza from Germany with the second album, The Redemptive End. Now this is a peculiar band which seems to get a lot of hate, and only for one reason really. That is to be so-called MGWA, or NGLA, like some people still like to say it, MGWA copycat. The reason? Well, Groza name is most likely taken from MGWA album called Groza from 2008. And this is a band that started around 2016, now out with second album. But not only that, of course, I mean, names could be just coincidence and all that stuff, because there are other bands with the same name, really. But the music style is very much something that people call MGWA copycat. Well, to be honest, with the second album, I can pretty much agree on that. But what I really don't get is the hate with some of the reviews that this band has been getting, because some people say, yeah, it's pretty good, it's actually okay in the genre, but because it's a copycat, I really can't enjoy it. Now, I'll prove this point to you by showing you what they had with the Unified in Void album. 3 reviews, 0%. Not that I usually read these reviews so much, but I was just, noticing it when I was taking info for the second album, the track list and all, and I was like, how come album gets 0 points? I mean, if it's actually some level of music. Not only that, when I was a little bit writing and figuring out, like, 3 times the 0%, I mean, it really must be a horrible album. And that is, by the way, not this one, which I'm having here. And the funny thing was, people were like, yeah, it's actually pretty okay, but because it's copycat, it's 0%. Now, if you ask me, I would say roughly at least 50% of the albums could be described as 0% just because they're copycats. Starting with albums with, like Dark Throne's Panzerfaust, because it's Hellhammer, Celtic Frost copycat. Or maybe Celtic Frost Morbid Tales alone is a copy. You get the idea. Anyway, I don't remember hearing the first album, so I can really say how good or bad it is, but 0% is probably just too much. And in my opinion, if you really compare a band to MGWA and say it's kind of a copycat, it is really a positive thing in my ears. And that's exactly what's going on with the Redemptive End as well. This one has some 6 tracks, 42 minutes, so rather lengthy ones, and the style is very much what MGWA is doing. Kind of a modern black metal with more on the atmospheric side rather than aggression or evil, dark, sinister sounding riffs or fast blast beating or things like that, which you're very much used to with, especially the kind of a first wave and many of the second wave early bands. But this is not the kind of a raw black metal. This is not symphonic black metal. This is not overly melodic black metal. Certainly has melodies, certainly lots of kind of a thick atmosphere and the like, but this is not very catchy. But then again, neither is MGWA when it comes to individual riffs. It's all about the kind of a mood and interesting feeling what they have with the album, and of course that excellent drumming. Now, Groza is not that far as when it comes to drumming, but there are similarities. There's lots of similarities with the riffs and all that stuff. And like somebody pointed out, Groza is much like MGWA, but just with a little bit better production. Now, better production is, of course, much a subjective thing, that is, an opinion. Like, some people just like it rawer and rougher, while some people like it more clean and crisp and all that stuff. And that's where Groza is standing. Not like this is overly produced, it's not annoying annoying because it's kind of a cleaner and crispier. But yeah, it's a little bit like that. Maybe a little bit softer, if you will. But in my opinion, it does a wonderful job in that territory. Both those rather standard, raspy black metal vocals, as well as the production. Now, when it comes to songwriting, I would say this is a little bit poorer version of MGWA. I just happen to be rather big MGWA fan, and I think it's one of the best Polish bands of all times. That and Graveland. Anyway, and as such, to me, comparing band to MGWA is definitely a positive thing. Now, Groza is not as good as, in my opinion, any of those MGWA albums. The better ones or the weaker ones, because MGWA doesn't really have weak ones. Now, that is not to say that the Redemptive End is a weak one. It's just not as good as MGWA. For example, while I get this kind of a special feeling with MGWA, I mean, when I always I don't even remember those riffs and individual songs here and there. And then when I start listening to it, it feels like I just can't stop the album. I'm enjoying those a lot. Now, I'm enjoying the Redemptive End quite a lot too, just not that much. So, in terms of ratings or numbers, whatever review scores you prefer. I'll give you an example how little there is difference in my opinion. Say Mgwa is at its weakest like 8 out of 10 for me anyway. Now the Redemptive End would be 7.5 out of 10. So tiny amount. So definitely an interesting, a good album, and I don't mind them being a copycat. A lot of my favorite bands are probably seen as copycats of some other bands which are even better. And sometimes the copy might be better than the original ones. I mean, who knows? But anyway, this is in my opinion a way more positive thing than what I was expecting based on other people's opinions and all that stuff. So definitely worth checking out, especially if you're into Mgwa. Now, haters gonna hate and lovers gonna love, so maybe you're one of those haters who just can't stand Groza because it's too much a copycat, or maybe you're one of those like me here, like, hey, so what if they do a copycat music? They're still pretty decent, so I'm gonna listen to it. With these words, I encourage you to check out the links provided and get your dose of Groza yourself, and then you can figure out whether or not this is your cup of tea. But me, recommending. Thanks for watching, take care, and bye-bye.